another episode of Good Luck Vista. So today I want to talk about finding your voice in a new space. As a Vista, you're kind of getting started out either in like a new university, school, community agency. Some of us, I know we kind of work with like children, adults, veterans, seniors. It all just varies. But in each type of environment, you're kind of the new person coming in. And so finding your voice in that space is super important. And so I'm going to go over 3 quick tips that I recommend as far as finding your new voice. First tip, don't try to change it. Don't. So a lot of times we have this idea that you have to kind of tailor who you are to fit that new space that you're going into. But at some point you kind of forget what you've changed a little bit to kind of fit in that space. And then people kind of look and they're like, wait, we've never seen this. Now, am I saying go in there like guns blazing, like pow, pow, pow? No. Still remember, you're a professional, you're in a professional environment, but just make sure that how you present yourself from the beginning is true to who you are. So that way you're not just coming in as kind of like this whole different person. And then halfway through your term, everybody's just like, what? I did not know this was you. Like, okay, fine, cool. That way, as you're going throughout, everybody's just kind of like, hey, this is Ayana. No problem. We get Ayana, the same Ayana on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Everybody looks different on Friday because we are ready to get off of work. But you're still going to get the same person. And that also ensures that however you do present your voice in those spaces, they don't kind of look at it like, oh, this may or may not be who they really are. Like, okay, no, it really is me. And this is truly who I am as a person. And I'm going to present myself how I want to from the beginning. Okay. My second tip, do not go into a space and be quiet. Now, am I saying go in with a microphone and be screaming, singing Whitney Houston? I am not saying that either. What I am saying is though, don't try to kind of follow underneath the flow, but make sure you're on top. As a professional, especially as a Vista, you're kind of like the new person. And so people are coming in, they're looking at it, and they're like, what are they really about? If you present yourself at the top and on top of who, at the forefront versus just kind of, staying low, it does allow your voice to be heard more when it needs to be. If you're always used to kind of being in the background, for me, that's how I was. But then I realized that as I kept forcing myself to be up front, so much of what I wanted to get accomplished like that, so quick. No problems, no questions asked, because people were used to hearing from me. Now, if I stayed in the background, nobody would be used to hearing from me. And so when there was something that came up that I needed to share or I needed input from other people, they're less likely to be like, oh, we've never heard this. Okay. Versus, oh yeah, we're used to hearing Ayana's voice. We're used to that. We already know off rip. She's gonna tell us where she's coming from. And then you have that relationship within that space. So that way when you are bringing something up front, they're like, oh yeah, we're used to that from them. Cool, let's get this done. Now, I know a lot of times, especially as someone who has anxiety, I don't like talking first. I don't. But I also know that there are times where I have no problem with talking first. I have no problem being the first person to speak up, to say this, say that. And that's okay. You can find a balance as long as you are not starting out in the back, especially when you're working in a community that is surrounded by different like hardships that you're helping like combat. You can't just kind of, be in the background of it, because a lot of those people that don't have the voices in the spaces that you're in, they need you to be that voice for them. And so you got to start out with the, hey, I know for a fact that my community, this is what they need. Okay, cool. Do you have to be the most social person? No. But if you've spoken up from the beginning and said, I know this, people will listen. And when it comes time for actions and for things to be done, they know that voice that they can go to because they remembered it. And they remember you saying, hey, this is what this side of the community needs. Okay, cool. Bada boom, bada bing, we're done. No problem. My third tip with that too, though, is don't let your voice be succumb to other people's voices. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we have those very dominant personalities around us. They're the first one to speak. They're the first one to get their point across. They're going to let you know how they feel. And you may find yourself being like, maybe I should just sit this one out. No, don't sit it out. The moment you sit it out is the moment you start losing your voice in those spaces. You need to stand up and make sure that your voice above that dominant person's is still getting through. They may be the loudest, they may be the most boldest, but as long as you're speaking and you continue to be persistent in what you are speaking on, your voice is going to get through. Again, working in, as a Vista, a lot of times it can feel like I just need to kind of sit this one out and let the dominant person get theirs across right now, but you never realize how much you're losing giving them so many right nows. If every week you're giving them a right now, you're losing more and more of your voice in those spaces. But if every week you're constantly going in and saying, hey, I know this. Hey, this needs to happen. Hey, I've found this. Hey, you're keep poking. So no matter how loud they're getting, your voice is squeaking in. It's getting through. And you don't find yourself being kind of pushed back by the louder ones, if that makes sense. Now, I say this to say, as someone who has spent a lot of time allowing the dominant voices override hers, I can admit that I have. What I found is I got more frustrated, not only with them, but also with myself by allowing that behavior, because I was like, this is not gonna work. Somebody has to hear me. And then I looked and I'm like, well, I've been allowing this person to be heard before me so many times that now my voice, it doesn't matter anymore. Or it does matter, but it's just kind of there. If I stay persistent from the beginning of getting my voice through, it would not have mattered how loud the other person was being. I still would have been heard. I would have been understood. Everything that I needed to get done would have gotten pushed through way faster than just allowing somebody else to kind of just keep going, and then you stay back. Also, when you're working in a community, a lot of times, you don't really get the option to let the voice get louder, because sometimes that louder voice goes against the community that you're trying to work for. So if you're working about, food security or like housing, and the louder voice is about how this big business wants to come in and tear down these homes to build a parking lot. Okay, that's a problem. So you don't need to let that big voice get in. You got to speak up. All right. If the loud voice is about them wanting to tear down a grocery store or tear down this shopping center, you got to speak up, because, hey, where are these people going to get food? Let me speak up louder than them, because this is going to hurt the community that I'm trying to serve. If you constantly keep pushing it through, eventually that louder voice, it's going to be like, oh, they there, but I'm also listening to them because I see what they're saying too. Overall, as a whole, as a Vista, no matter if it's like your first service year, second, third, fourth, fifth, don't let your voice not be A, who you want your voice to be, and B, the first in line. And what I mean by the first in line, I mean, again, it does not matter if you are the most quiet person in the room. Your voice should not be following behind others, because, again, as you continue to do that, you slowly lose that voice, and you slowly lose that voice in that space. So make sure that you are not only the voice that you want it to be, but also you're first in line. And with that, good luck, Vista.